Hello, everyone. Thank you, everyone that's hung on this long all day thing. I am here with another one of our trusted partners, Mani, director of ZonKeepers, to talk about expanding to Australia. Like I said, a trusted partner of ShipBob, really have leaned on them to help us guide customers into what's expected when they expand to Australia. It's been a hot market. It's kind of secondary to the US, some people would say, and just excited for Manny to talk about this. And I'll kick it off and let him talk about expanding to Australia. So thanks, Manny.
Thank you, Francesca. And I would say good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone who is logged on at the moment. I believe we've got people from all parts of the world. Before we get started, my name is Manny I'm the CEO, founder of ZonKeepers, and we are a full-service e-commerce accounting firm located in beautiful Sunshine Coast, Queensland, Australia. We help Australian businesses expand globally, and we help international businesses come into Australia and navigate the complexities of the Australian marketplace and help them with all kinds of taxation requirements, maybe cross-border tax structuring or ABNs, GSTs, local taxes, indirect taxes, and direct taxes. Quick disclaimer before I move forward: the content I'm going to go through is general information only, and it's a summary for tax and legal matters. If you make sure you seek legal or seek tax or legal professional advice before acting on any content. Righty, let's get into it. I will make sure we leave some time for Q&A at the end. I like to engage with everyone who's logged on, so I'll make sure that we've got some time for Q&A at the very end. So we'll get into it. I'll start with two interesting trends which I found really interesting, and that is the trajectory of online retail spend in Australia. It's always been on an upward trend. There's always been an upward trend, but 2021, I guess, the pandemic supercharged it for Australia. That took us to another peak, and it's been it went to another level essentially, and now it's stabilized and still on an upward trajectory. We did have few sectors shrink, few categories shrink, few categories essentially gain more traction. Could be because of different reasons, such as new entrants in the market, fierce competition. But found this $63 billion spent in $63 billion spent in 2023. That's a massive increase compared to the previous years. One of the most common questions we get. Before we get to that, just a bit about Australia. If you look at Australia, the way it's positioned, it's a huge country. Even though, and very important piece of information for merchants is that even if looking at the size of the country, the population is really saturated on the eastern seaboard. That's where the majority of the population essentially, you would want to focus at, and that gives most of the merchants who are with ShipBob a great advantage because of the logistic solutions. The warehouses which ShipBob has placed are very strategically placed on the eastern seaboard. So that's great. Let's get into it. One of the most common, frequently asked questions: how do we get started? What do we need to get started to start selling into Australia? Two things. The first one is the Australian business number, or the ABN, and you may or may not need a GST. We will get into it once we have covered the ABN section. So what is ABN? As I mentioned, Australia stands for Australian Business Number. It's an 11-digit unique number which identifies you to the government and to the community in general. Now, biggest advantage is you do not have to use a third-party importer of record to import goods into Australia and place them into a warehouse or Shebob's warehouse, basically, for example. It allows you to import inventory into Australia. It allows you to do business with other businesses here locally in Australia, and not commonly known. This information is not commonly known, but it allows you to register for a .com.au domain, which is a very big tick. And the other one which we'll shortly cover is the GST registration. If you do fall within the category where you are legally required to register for GST, it allows you to register for full GST registration and take advantage of the credits available. If you are confused as to what I'm saying, please hold your thought over there. I will cover GST shortly. Now, one of the commonly asked questions again is, why do I need ABN, and why can't we just just continue sending goods from overseas? Now, two issues I can see with that. The first one being the time to fulfill the time it takes to fulfill your inventory from outside of Australia, from somewhere, say for example from the US to Australia. It takes long, and it can take up to 2 to 3 weeks. We're a big island, so sometimes it can take very long to get get inventory from US to, say for example, east coast of Australia. So that's the first one. And the second one is the cost of shipping, cost of postage, and both these factors impact customer experience. So I would say, if you are serious about scaling, having your inventory placed at a warehouse like a Shebob's warehouse in Australia is a really good decision, because it will allow you to, number one, decrease your shipping times, and number two, postage costs, and hence a better customer experience. So how do we go about how do we apply for an ABN? How do we get a non-resident ABN? There's a lot of information on the internet, but we have simplified it for you, and I'll explain the 3 steps what are required. We need 3 main documents. The first one being certificate of incorporation of your entity. Number 2, the passport or driver's license. Basically, number 2 and 3 is passport and a driver's license of the directors, of at least one director who is listed on the certificate of incorporation. Now, the key thing over here is that all these items, all these documents need to be notarized by a public notary. Okay, it's very important. So once you've got the once you've got the documents, you fill in out the form, essentially, which gives us the power of attorney to apply on your behalf. Typically takes it's taking at the moment 40 to 45 days to get the ABN, unlike 28 days what says on the website of the Australian Taxation Office. But we follow it up with the Australian Taxation Office once you've applied, and we work with them until we've got your ABN. So it's a lengthy process which we've tried to streamline, and once we've got so let's say we've now got your ABN. What are your taxation liabilities in Australia? Similar, just similar to any other country, Australians like to have their fair share of taxes. Now, we are very lucky that Australia has got taxation treaty with most of the developed countries, and if you fall in, if your country of incorporation of the entity falls within one of the within this list, you're lucky you wouldn't have major federal level taxation compliance, and that essentially have like a shop front or a shop over here. You do not employ staff. You do not have a independent agent. So essentially, what this is referred to as is this: you do not have a permanent establishment here in Australia, and all you're doing is you're sending your inventory to Shibob's warehouse, for example, and for the purposes of fulfillment and storage. But you are located outside of Australia. As long as you tick all these boxes, you do not have federal level taxation nexus. However, you still have a GST nexus. Okay, so let me now explain the concept about what the goods and services tax is. To a degree, it's similar to the sales tax system in the US, but the sales tax system in the US is a consumer-based, consumption only, on the sales tax only, does not come with credits, whereas goods and services tax allows you to take works both on the sales and on the inputs and the outputs. Goods and services tax registration, GST registration tax in Australia is required when you have reached 75,000 Australian dollars in the 12 rolling months, which is roughly equal to 50K USD. And it does not matter which state do you sell. You can sell into, your consumer can be based in Queensland or New South Wales or Adelaide, or so they could be in any part of Australia. The GST rate is standard 10% throughout Australia. There's two ways. I'll get into as you can see, I've written down over there. There's a legal obligation, which is when you have reached 75,000 or more. But then there's also another. There's a voluntarily register. You can register for a GST. I'll explain to you shortly why would you want to do this. Why would you want to voluntarily register for GST? Okay, this 2-3 more slides further down, I'll explain why that might be a good option. Once registered for GST, your obligations are to collect GST on checkout. Let's say if you are selling via Shopify, you collect GST on checkout from your, at the checkout. And remember, if you are also charging GST, for shipping, because shipping is a service, you also need to, if domestic shipping, GST also applies to domestic shipping charges within Australia. So you have to charge 10% at the checkout for both product and services. As a whole, if I was to describe the equation, when we file the GST, and I'll go through this as well in depth, the GST on sales which you collect can be offset against the GST which you pay on acquisition, creditable acquisitions. So, for example, on any expenses, and the GST which you pay at the time of importation of goods into Australia, and I'll touch on that as well further down. As a matter of fact, it's the next slide. And whatever the net amount is, that's either the amount refundable or payable. All right. So let's take an example over here. Let's say you've imported the value of your taxable imports into Australia is 50,000 AUD. Now, most likely, you will be required to pay GST at customs. Okay, it's and that's 10% again, and that's $5,000. Now, let's say why this $5,000. If you are registered for GST, you have had no sales in that quarter, this $5,000 is a full cash refund to you. Alternatively, if you have had some sales, let's say you had sales worth $10,000 in that quarter, and you collected $1,000 worth of GST, you can offset this GST paid at customs. So 1,000 less 5,000, your refund is $4,000. And let's assume if you have your collected GST was $10,000, so you made sales of 100,000, and 10% of that is 10,000. So if you made sales of $100,000 in that quarter, and you collected GST of 10,000, you can again offset the GST which you have already paid at customs of 5,000, and hence your payable amount for GST to the Australian Taxation Office is only 5,000. Okay, not the entire 10 grand. So that's what I meant about. That's what I meant when I mentioned to credit-based system. It's basically the input tax credits which are available to you when you make creditable acquisition. Okay. Again, one of the most frequently asked question: who's responsible for GST collection? Is it let's say if I'm selling via Amazon or one of the marketplace facilitators? So we've made a clear distinction over here. If you are selling from one of the platforms, one of the common Shopify or BigCommerce, WooCommerce, or even FBA, essentially, then you are responsible. Now, things get kind of tricky when, depending on the origin of where the goods are being shipped from. So let's say you're selling them via Amazon, and if you are shipping the goods, if you have got your goods located here at Amazon FBA warehouse in Australia, then you are responsible for it. You are responsible for monitoring your GST, your sales, and then legally, when you reach the 75K threshold, you need to register for GST. Okay. Now, if you are shipping the goods from outside of Australia to Australia, then it's Amazon's responsibility to collect the GST on your behalf. Okay. So it does get tricky then there's another concept which I don't want to introduce at this stage, which is the LVIG, which is the low value imported goods. If your goods are under $1,000, or if your value of the order is under $1,000 or above $1,000, I have further down, I have listed my contact us link as well. If you're confused on this, it is a topic which you have to get correct, so that you're not you're looking when you have got the obligation to look after the GST compliance when the third party marketplace facilitator is responsible. If you're confused, just get in touch with us. We can definitely look deeper into this issue. Now, once you are GST registered, what are your obligations, and how do we help you with this process? We have streamlined the process. We take care of preparing the filing for you. We get, once you've got access to your, let's say, Shopify store or WooCommerce, whatever store, we work with most of the mainstream stores and platforms. Once we have got access to that, we extract the data ourselves. We ask you to upload all the expenses related to customs and GST, and we request other paperwork which is required to prepare the filing. We prepare the filing for you essentially, and then we send it to you to review and sign, and we then send the payment instructions, which you can then make the payment directly to the Australian Taxation Office. So it takes away all the headache of putting it all together, and we take care of all of that. We do what we are good at so that you can continue to do what you're amazing at. Our pricing, again, it starts from $249 per filing, and depending on your sales volume in Australia, the pricing tiers are listed on our website. In a nutshell, as a foreign resident, what do we need to get? How do we get started? The first one being ABN, and the second one, again, you may or may not need the GST registration. As I mentioned earlier, this is the link. Please note down the link if you'd like to reach out to clarify or to get some more information on our services, or get more, understand your tax or GST obligation here in Australia. Be happy to help you out. And last but not the least, we also have a special in conjunction with ShipBob. We've got a code. Once you are on our website and you're applying for the GST for ABN, please use this code ShipBobZK. It'll give you 30%. It'll take off normally the registration cost for ABN application fees is $390, and up to using this code, it'll take off 30%. So it'll be paying off. Comes down to 260 odd basically. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'm open to if there's any questions, please feel free to put them down. Or Francesca, I guess you can work with me to see if there's any further questions.
Yeah, thanks, Manny. That was a really comprehensive understanding of what it takes to move to Australia. Thank you for keeping it high level as well, because I know we can get into details, and that's where people should probably hop on a phone call with you. Maria did have one question. I think it was in terms of pricing for both ABN and GST filings. Was that the total cost? Is there more cost that you didn't include on that slide, or were those the basics just to get everything live?
Yes, absolutely. So with the $390 includes the ABN and GST registration. Now, it happens at times where you do not need the GST initially and you require GST at a later stage. That's completely fine. If we have registered the ABN initially for you, when you come back to us for GST registration, we process it absolutely complimentary, no additional charge. We do not charge you again for any GST registration.
Okay, great. And I don't know if we have any other questions. We'll leave maybe a couple more minutes for questions, and I'll ask one that we get asked a lot. I guess timeline, how early should someone be looking at registering their business, registering for an ABN, depending on launch? And then we didn't talk about this too, of nutraceuticals and consumables that need to go through the Therapeutic Goods Association. So someone that doesn't have consumables, that doesn't need those regulations, and someone that does, just give us timelines. So I think this is where people get tripped up, because there are a lot of like naturopathic consumable products that people do bring to Australia. I think that's what we've seen the most. And I think the timeline is where they get a little bit tripped up of like, wait, this is going to take this much time. I thought I could go live in the next couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad you asked that question. With the generally at the moment, so there's two aspects to the compliance. One is the ABN GST compliance, and the other aspect what we're looking at is if you're looking at supplements and the whole that area, which is the Therapeutical Goods of Australia, TGA compliance. Now, TGA is outside of our domain of advisory. However, working with so many shipboard merchants which have come, which we've worked with, TGA can take up to 2 to 3 months to get the certifications and get the right compliance requirements, the labelings, all of those requirements correct. Okay, so do allow yourself 2 to 3 months for that. In terms of just the ABN applications at this stage, I would say on the ATO website, it would say 28 days. However, we're experiencing 40 to 45 days, and at peak times, which is now at the moment, it's a peak, tax time in Australia, up to 15th of May, we're even looking at up to 60 days from the date of application. And it does go down. It's not always the same. It's just when it's peak time, please plan and prepare ahead. Okay. It does take, it does take slightly longer to get those ABNs through the line. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think that's just what I wanted to cover, especially since we're getting into summer in the US. I know it's winter for you guys right now, but most brands are going to be vacationing, whether it is summer or winter. And I just don't want to get to August and people be like, crap, this is something I wanted to do, and now I don't have the time to do it. So thank you so much, Manny, for outlining that. Just wrapping everything up as well. If you guys want to connect with Manny, I know we put a lot of different links. You can go to the virtual booth to request time, as well as go through any of the links. Even reply to emails. We're going to be following up with the recordings of all the sessions. So any partner that you want to be connected with, if you're like, I don't have their information, just reply to the email and we'll get you connected with them. But with that, we also have the last winner, Renee Price. Thank you for commenting and staying active in the chat and asking questions. Renee, we're going to be reaching out to you about your $50 Visa gift card. So thank you, everyone that stayed on. We got 30 people strong still, which is a pretty good for a couple of hours of a conference. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Manny, and we'll see you guys at our next summit.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.